And we're back and ready to roll. So, we just finished up talking about the availability of metals in ores and minerals and elements and rocks. So now we need to talk about where they're coming from and how we get them. So, we will talk about mining techniques, and this is where we're going to finish up. So, there's surface mining and there is subsurface mining. So of this surface mining, we're going to talk about 4 different types of mining. There's strip mining, open pit mining, mountaintop removal, which sounds really promising, and placer mining. Subsurface mining is subsurface mining. So first up is strip mining. So strip mining is when we go in and we remove strips of soil and rock to expose ore. So we strip away that soil layer by layer by layer. Then we get to the rock and we strip it away layer by layer. You can kind of see here this little step looking thingamajig. So this is where you can see those layers that have been stripped away just layer by layer. Next up, we have open mining or open pit mining. So this here is an example of some open pit mining. Kind of looks like something a UFO might have made. I don't know. But this is where we mine just pretty much straight down into a big pit. So we're just going deeper and deeper and deeper in one pit. And these are visible. Here's another friendly pit for all of you Parks and Rec fans out there. Next up is mountaintop removal, which is pretty much as bad as it sounds. So this is when we take the top of a mountain and blow it off with explosives, which is pretty rad, but pretty bad for the environment as well. So this image is a really good example of what happens when we use mountaintop removal. So here you can see a coal seam. So this is where coal is, and you can see it throughout the mountain. There's a layer here. Go down a little bit, there's more, there's more, there's more. We know through sedimentary rock that there's going to be layers of rock, and different layers are going to have a different chemical makeup. So it makes sense that we have different layers of coal throughout that mountain. But also on that mountain, we've got a forest. We've got animals that live there. We have trees. We have water systems. At the bottom of this mountain, you see a stream. A lot of times driving through mountains, you'll see streams just winding around them. And then we have a little mining community. So people that are going to come, set up shop there, mine, and then get out of Dodge when the stream overflows. So here you have an example of what's going to happen. So trees are going to be cut down, explosions are going to happen, and they're slowly going to mine away at that coal, get that layer, blow up some more rocks, get another layer of coal, blow up some more rocks until they go down. So when this happens, they're going to have excess rock. They're blowing up rock. It's got to go somewhere. And we saw previously through that physical weathering that it's going to go downhill with gravity. So when all of those spoils go down the hill, they're going to go into that stream at the bottom. And what happens when we put rocks underneath all that water? It's going to be displaced and it's going to flood. So this third picture is kind of a final look at what might happen after mountaintop removal has happened. So eventually these valleys are going to be more so filled in. They're not going to be so dramatic. Native species might grow back. They might not, because this soil has a new chemical makeup. And so it may or may not be able to reestablish how it was previously when there was a full mountain there. The last one is placer mining. So this is a process of looking for minerals, metals, and precious stones in river sediments. So think of like those childhood activities where you got to go and pan for gold. A lot of people actually did that during the California gold rush. So you can think about that as well. People still do it today as a hobby. Just they go and they pan for gold. They pan for other minerals. You can also think about the opening scenes in Blood Diamond, where they're trying to pan out those diamonds. Whatever, makes you think of placer mining. But through all these different types of mining activities, there's a lot of issues that arise. We already saw with that mountaintop removal, the displacement of animal and plant species. Entire communities are displaced, but also there's going to be runoff, and that runoff causes something called tailings. So this is a waste material. So the rain is going to hit this exposed mineral that's never been exposed before, or at least in recent history, it hasn't been exposed before. And it's going to bring all of that, all those minerals, all of those ores, all of those chemicals down to the nearest water source. So here's an image of an example of some tailings that occurred near a site where they were mining for iron. So we know that iron often causes things to turn red. So here you see a red river. So when we talk about mining, there's a lot of responsibility behind it. When we mine at a site, people cannot just abandon those mining sites. They have to properly close them down. Sometimes when they're even properly closed down, they still cause things like spoils and trailings, but we try the best that we can still. So we've talked about surface mining. Let's talk about subsurface mining quickly. So subsurface mining is used when the desired resource is more than 328 feet below the surface of Earth. So this stuff's way down in there. So this is things like coal, most diamonds, gold. All of those are some of those materials that we extract from the rock underneath. And there's certainly more than just those three. So now that we know about these types of minings, we need to look at their effects. So this is an awesome table, wink, wink, that shows the different effects of surface mining and subsurface mining. So if we look here, surface mining releases a lot of dust into the air. And just from moving equipment. So they're pounding this rock, and it's definitely going to release debris into the air, and that's something that we can later breathe in. It's going to affect water because of that rain runoff. It's going to cause those tailings. It's going to affect soil because most soil is going to be removed from the site and it might be replaced. It affects biodiversity because it alters entire habitats. And it's not just those habitats that we see at the surface level, it's those subsurface habitats that are disrupted as well. And then what's the effect of humans on surface mining is pretty minimal. Air quality, water quality are definitely important. And that's more so, though, close to that site of mining. So surface mining has fewer negative effects on humans, but definitely a big impact on other animal species and plant species. So subsurface mining effects on the air, pretty minimal because all of this is occurring underground. But you know who that's bad for is those people that are working underground. Effects on water, again, acid mine drainage. So those runoffs can still occur. But also, since this is underground, it might percolate down into groundwater sources. And we'll talk about groundwater sources later on in the year. Effects on biodiversity. Since it's so far down, there aren't as many living things, but we still have to make ways to get to and from that underground mine, so that's going to disrupt habitat. The effect on humans in subsurface mining is more significant than surface mining. Subsurface mining is expensive to do, and that's because of the risk that humans are taking to go underground and mine those materials. So the risks are higher. Possibility of death or chronic respiratory disease doesn't sound very promising, but we as humans seem to think that the benefits outweigh the cost in this situation. So I'd like to thank you guys for sticking around, hanging out with me, learning about some rocks and soil and minerals, and we're going to put all of this into action when we look at our soil dynamics lab. Have a good night.